Imagine a home where silence feels like music, where stillness doesn't echo emptiness, but instead hums with warmth. Imagine a place where simplicity carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken emotions. A place where East meets West, not in conflict, but in good harmony. This is more than design. It is more than walls, roofs, and furniture arranged just so. It's a language, a way of speaking without words, a way of living carved into beams of timber and sheets of glass. Japandi, a meeting of Japanese minimalism and Scandinavian warmth. Two philosophies, born from lands oceans apart, yet somehow drawn together like kindred spirits who always knew they belonged. It is a language written not in letters, but in textures, shadows, and light. The roughness of wood against the softness of linen. The balance of clean lines against the warmth of stone. It's an embrace between restraint and comfort, between order and tenderness. But here lies a question that stirs curiosity. What happens when this quiet, delicate philosophy is poured into something as raw, as unpolished, as honest as a barn? A barn built not for beauty, but for survival. Rugged, functional, unapologetically practical. Could such a structure truly hold the softness of Japandi? Or would the clash of styles leave it broken, confused, misplaced? That's where the story begins. Because when you place Japandi inside the frame of a barn, something extraordinary happens. The strength of one softens the other. The vulnerability of glass rests safely within timber bones. The wide, open spaces find new meaning in calm, intentional simplicity. Suddenly, a building once meant only for work becomes a sanctuary for the soul. Japandi. The word itself feels like a meeting point, a bridge between two distant worlds. On one side, the quiet discipline of Japanese minimalism, spaces that honor stillness, that invite you to breathe slower, to see beauty in the understated. On the other side, the gentle embrace of Scandinavian warmth, rooms that glow with comfort, that celebrate togetherness, that remind us of the joy found in simple things. Two philosophies, two traditions, born thousands of miles apart. Yet when they meet, something remarkable happens. They don't compete. They don't cancel each other out. Instead, they lean into each other, filling in the gaps, weaving a balance that feels timeless, inevitable, almost fated. Now place this union inside the frame of a barn. A barn is everything Japandi is not, at least at first glance. It is rugged, weathered, unbothered by polish. Built for work, for shelter, for function alone. Its beams are strong but unrefined, its walls plain, its presence unapologetically practical. A barn doesn't whisper elegance. It shouts of survival, of labor, of earth and grit. At first, they shouldn't belong together. One speaks of restraint, the other of utility. One asks you to look inward, the other demands outward effort. And yet, somehow, they fall in love. Japandi steps into the barn like a gentle hand smoothing over rough wood. The softness of linen quiets the hardness of steel. Neutral tones soften the barn's raw edges. Open, intentional spaces transform what once was a place of labor into a place of calm. The barn, in turn, offers Japandi something it could never create alone: strength, durability, an anchor in the earth. Together, they create sanctuaries carved from contrast. A balance between the fragile and the firm, the refined and the raw. What was once only a building becomes a story, a quiet reminder that even the unlikeliest of unions can feel like destiny. Step inside, and the air feels different. Space is no longer something that surrounds you, it embraces you. The walls breathe. The rooms are open, uncluttered, yet they never feel empty. They feel intentional, like every inch has been touched by thought, by care, by purpose. Here, colors don't shout. They murmur. Neutral tones stretch across the floors and walls, soft creams, warm grays, muted browns, shades that quiet the mind instead of crowding it. Textures speak where words are unnecessary. The grain of oak beneath your fingertips, the cool strength of stone underfoot, the gentle weave of linen resting across a chair. Each detail, simple on its own, together forming a symphony of calm. Every line feels deliberate. Every angle, every shadow, designed not for decoration, but for pause. As light pours through tall windows, it doesn't just brighten the space, it slows time. It paints the walls with shifting patterns, reminding you that even the sun knows how to be gentle here. A small nook in the corner, tatami-inspired, invites you to sit, to fold yourself into stillness, to listen to the silence like it's a language you once forgot but are now relearning. The dark steel beams of the barn still stand, strong and proud, yet softened by the warmth of Nordic woods layered against them. What was once heavy now feels balanced. What was once stern now feels kind. And in this quiet, a question lingers. Why do we long for such spaces? Why, in a world overflowing with color, sound, distraction, do we crave these simple, honest rooms? Perhaps because deep down, we know the truth. It's not the abundance that nourishes us, it's the absence. Not the noise that heals us, but the quiet. Here, Japandi doesn't just design a space. It gives us breathing room for the soul. If you found this video inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means to me, and it helps keep the design ideas coming your way. Why does this design speak so deeply to us now, in this moment of history? Perhaps it's because we are tired. Tired of rushing, tired of noise, tired of lives built on endless clutter. Deep down, we are yearning for stillness, for balance, for something that feels like home not only to the body, but to the spirit. Japandi Barndominiums resonate because they answer that yearning. They give us a world where every corner feels purposeful, where simplicity is not deprivation but abundance, where sustainability is not a trend but a quiet act of respect toward the earth, toward the materials, toward ourselves. There is a philosophy here, ancient yet timeless. The Japanese call it wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection, the grace in things weathered, worn, and real. A crack in the wood, a knot in the grain, a handmade bowl slightly uneven. Instead of flaws, they become reminders of humanity, of authenticity. And the Scandinavian spirit brings hygge, the joy of simple comforts. A warm blanket on a cold morning, the glow of candlelight, the laughter shared over bread. Together, these ideas weave into a home that doesn't demand, but gently offers. Because in the end, it's not about furniture or walls or carefully arranged spaces. It's about building a life that whispers instead of shouts. A life that leaves room for breath, for presence, for noticing the smallest details, a shadow shifting across the floor, the sound of wind brushing against glass. And yet, behind this calm beauty, something deeper stirs, something that pulls at us like a quiet tide. Because this design is not just aesthetic, it's a mirror, a reflection of what we've lost and what we ache to return to. A reminder that beyond the layers of distraction, we are still capable of living simply, authentically, beautifully. If you love this type of look, hit that subscribe button to help us create more videos. And let us know in the comments what you'd love to see in future videos. Living in a Japandi Barndominium is not simply inhabiting a space. It is like stepping into your truest self. Unpolished, yet whole. Honest, yet gentle. A home that doesn't mask what it is, but instead embraces every grain, every imperfection, every story written into its bones. The glass walls stand like an invitation, transparent, vulnerable, refusing to hide from the world. They remind us that openness is not weakness, but courage, the courage to let in light, to let others see, to live without the armor of excess. And then, the wood beams rise to meet that fragility. Strong, grounded, unyielding, they hold the weight of both roof and spirit. In their strength, the glass finds safety. In their openness, the beams find warmth. Together, they teach us that contrast is not opposition, it is balance. This design whispers lessons through silence. It teaches us that emptiness is not a void, but a canvas, waiting to be filled not with things, but with moments. That stillness is not absence, but presence. The kind of presence that makes you notice the way sunlight lingers on a wall, or how the air shifts when a window opens. And as you move through such a home, something begins to stir inside you. The realization that these walls are not just architecture. They are metaphors. They are reminders of a slower rhythm, a gentler way of being. Here, The house is no longer just a shelter, it is a teacher. Because what this space offers is not simply beauty, but a mirror, a reflection of what we crave, what we neglect, what we have forgotten. It asks us quietly, without force, what if life could be lived like this? What if balance, simplicity, and presence weren't just design choices, but choices of the soul? In the end, this barn is not just a place to live. It is a quiet rebellion, a stand against clutter, against chaos, against the endless distractions that pull us away from what matters. It whispers back to a world that only knows how to shout. It dares to say, less is enough. Silence has value. Simplicity is strength. Because the truth is, it was never only about the house. It was never about glass walls, or wood beams, or the way light stretches across an empty floor. It has always been about us. About the choices we make, the pace we keep, the lives we build when no one is watching. The Japandi Barndominium is not the destination. It is a reflection of a longing buried deep within us. A longing for authenticity in a time when so much feels manufactured. A craving for calm in a world addicted to noise. A desire to return to what is real. Textures that carry warmth, spaces that breathe, lives that feel honest and whole. And in that way, the barn becomes a symbol, not of architecture, but of alignment. Of living with intention instead of impulse. Of remembering that beauty is not in abundance, but in clarity.